In the last class we studied the roddy picker, and as always within the KFM process, once we have learnt how to use a certain weapon in attack, we then need to study and develop how to destroy it. In these first few shots, we have isolated the movement so you can see exactly what we're trying to achieve. Remember, the technique is one thing, what we need to develop is the application in motion. Now we put the technique, as people like to call it, back into the mix. Here we see Ruben take Justo to the ground and attack with the knee. Obviously for demo purposes, Ruben is only showing the knee very lightly. Justo plays with a simple pensador and finds the angle in which to destroy the incoming attack. Okay, now we are going to take a look at the basic controls on the ground. First we see Justo shadowing the control 1. Justo then shows the basic technical application with Ruben. Notice how he uses the pensador to drive Ruben's arms. And again, watch how Justo controls the situation and exits with the roddy picker. Although again it's only shown very lightly in this shot. It's important that we always develop the technical movement in the shadow first. We have followed this process all of our lives, and to great benefit. Let's take another look as Justo walks through the technical application. Make sure you control properly on exiting the position. Now we look at Justo shadowing ground control 2 from a side shot. Now Justo shows the technical application with Ruben. If we watch carefully, we can see how the pensador forms a foundation of the basic control. We can see another clip of Justo shadowing the ground control 2, this time from a front shot. As soon as they hit the floor, you look how Justo immediately controls Ruben's body with the elbow, and at the same time controls the arm and the head. On exiting, Justo controls Ruben's head with his knee. This time, notice how Justo uses the pensador and enters the control under Ruben's arm. Upon doing so, Justo immediately traps Ruben's arm with the candado. And yet again, you look at the outline shape of the control. Yep, it's the pensador. Let's just watch that same entry point one more time. As we always state, this is the first time we've looked at the ground up until now, and the work is extremely basic. There is a long way to go yet with the study of the ground, but the ground is a very, very interesting subject. This is a quick insert, just so we can take a closer look at how Justo controls the shape with the elbows whilst trapping the arm. Justo is being very kind to Ruben in this shot, as he would normally be grabbing big handfuls of flesh. Gleefully today, Ruben escapes that one. Justo now shows the technical shadow for control 3. Once again, watch how Justo uses the elbows to drive the opponent. Because this is the beginning, our objective is only that of control. But remember, this is not our ultimate objective. Here's another clip of the technical shadow. We have lots of things to talk over regarding the ground, but it's impossible to say everything in the first instance. So as normal, step by step is the way. Now we can see the technical shadow of Control 4, top position. The way in which we use the fourth control is a bit different to that of the classical interpretation of this position. Notice how Justo traps the arm with the leg and controls Ruben's face with the elbow. Again, watch carefully how Justo exits the control. He doesn't just relax and stand up. You would never do this in the street, and hence we never do this in the training. This is another quick insert shot so that you can see how Justo controls Ruben as he exits the control. Simple but effective. Moving on to our last control in this week's class, Control 5, from the bottom position. In this clip, watch how Justo controls Ruben's head as they hit the floor. He then uses the elbow to drive for the head crush. From this angle we can see how Justo drives for the head crush and how he still controls on the exit. Clearly our intention is to never enter the ground at all during a fight, if possible, as in truth it's a disaster and a massive problem. But should we ever arrive there, we need to understand how the ground functions, along with all the associated problems that go with it. Let's look at just one reason why we may arrive in Control 1. Justo is attacking, and whilst applying the Roddy Picker, Ruben attacks back and breaks Justo's balance, hence he hits the ground unintentionally. As you can see in the next two clips, Justo is putting his hands down when he arrives on the floor. Just so we are all clear on one thing, this is for safety reasons only. It's not possible to drop all your body weight and elbows onto the training partner without the risk of a big damage. As long as we are clear about the true objective, we may need to adapt some movements for safety reasons. If we understand why we are or are not doing a thing, then there's no problem. In this clip, Ruben catches Justo on the inside of the leg, thus forcing him to fall slightly different. It is the answer from the opponent that dictates the way in which we fall, but it is our level of understanding and practical ability that gives us the answer. Let's watch as Justo uses a pensador to land on Ruben. Clearly at tempo, this is applied in a ballistic fashion, as it's a full-on attack. Even if Ruben did make the counter, he is still going to receive. Once again, Husto receives a slightly different energy from Ruben, hence we hit another control. As you can see, we don't choose what we want, it's what we do with what we get that counts. Look how Husto controls the head. Again, what is the true objective here? Well, you decide depending on the situation. But clearly this is a relaxed and non-aggressive control, so as not to damage Ruben. It doesn't take much really to understand what this movement would actually be. In Control 5, the objective is the destruction of the opponent's head. If we up the intensity of this movement, we will create great damage to the opponent's neck and face. Hence all of these movements are trained with respect and common sense. Notice how Husto controls Ruben's head, even on the disengagement, and as always, this control has much more intense application attached to it than we're showing here. Can we all see that we enter the ground, not because we choose to, but because the situation dictates? As we now start to study and develop the ground, lots of questions will arise, and so long as they are intelligent questions, we will evolve this area quickly. The first and most simple thing that we know, but must reinforce daily, is the fact that we are playing in an unlimited environment. Our sole intention is to destroy and get up as fast as possible. We have no interest in staying on the ground and rolling around. If we watch carefully, we can see that when Ruben gives Roland a different energy, Roland adopts a different control. It's not Roland's choice, he gets what he's given, and it's Roland's instinctive action-reaction ability that will dictate the answer. Again, you look, if we follow the process step by step and week by week, we will develop a high degree of ability and understanding in a very short space of time. We don't need 20 years or more, like we are often led to believe, as just baloney, and so not the case. KFM produces and develops an extremely high number of very talented and educated instructors as a direct consequence of the Urban X syllabus. There is so much information for us to study that it's almost a frustration, but the really cool part is that we will never have it all anyway. It's just impossible. We would need 10 lifetimes and more, and then we'd only just be scratching the surface, which is good, as it means our learning curve is infinite. Note how Roland traps Ruben on the ground. This shape gives us a good position to fight from, and stresses the opponent immensely. This reduces the responsibility of the opponent, and let's not forget, we don't intend staying on the ground for more than a few seconds if we can help it. If we watch carefully, we can also see how Roland controls Ruben's other arm as he disengages. This movement is not exploited yet, but you can clearly see that this is an arm wrench or a break. When training in the one opponent section of the class, don't forget that the objective is to play around with energy and associated problems. Don't just mimic the technique, or you'll never catch the functionality of the work. Obviously in the beginning, we need to learn the work, or technique as people like to call it. But as soon as we have got the work down, we then need to stress it. Otherwise it just becomes a case of who can do the choreographed technique the fastest. Now as we move into the two-man predator, it's plain to see that the action-reaction process starts to take over. And again, as always with the training, we may isolate a piece of work, but we must also learn how to operate and keep it all together under pressure. I personally have been with and witnessed very talented martial artists receive a severe beating in the street. I think this is a common story, but the question is, why does this happen so often? Because there is a reason, and I think we all know what it is. If you watch any CCTV footage of real fights outside nightclubs, it's a real mess, highly charged, and nothing like the techniques that are usually associated with self-defense programs. As we said already, high-speed choreography is one thing, looks great for demonstrations and the likes, but that's about it really, as it bears no resemblance to the chaos of a real fight at all. We would just like to make one thing very clear. We don't think that KFM has all the answers, as nobody does. But what we do concern ourselves with is a genuine study of the urban arena. And a street fight is like a minefield. One wrong step and you lose. Well, in closing, you should have fun with this class, as there are 5 controls on the ground to test and then find all the problems associated with them. This is only the beginning of the study on the ground. There is a long way to go yet, but this will keep everybody busy for a while. Have fun and see what problems you can find, as it's the problems that will show us the answers.